Yes, guys, that is the URL of day one video. Okay, URL of day one video. And if you are looking for course content, if you are looking for course content, yes, there is a PDF file which I have uploaded, course content of Spring Basic, Spring Boot, and microservices. So from here you can get the course content, guys. Done. Okay, now listen. The course is Spring Basic, Spring Boot, and microservices. So today we are having entry 2. So when I launch Spring Boot in this course that is called entry 2, to attend this course from entry 2, prerequisite is Spring Basics. This course can be launched, can be attended from entry 1. So to attend from that time, we need to have core Java and JDBC basics. So we'll be having entry 3 also. That means some more friends can join in this batch. Okay, when Spring REST and Spring Microservice is launched, but to attend this course from that particular place, prerequisite is Spring Boot. Spring Boot. Are you getting my point? Yes. So these are the various things we are going to learn. Spring Boot intro, Spring Boot mail, Spring Boot data JP and Spring Boot MongoDB, Spring Boot scheduling, Spring Boot MVC, Spring Boot security, and Spring Boot OAuth. As part of that, we will be learning JWT tokens and other things, Spring REST, microservices and Spring Cloud. Only on microservice and Spring Cloud, we are going to spend 30 to 40 sessions, guys. Okay, guys. Next, you will be having Spring Reactive Programming, Spring Boot and Angular integration, lot of miscellaneous discussion, Spring Batch, Spring Boot actuators, messaging, okay? Messaging, as part of messaging, RabbitMQ also we will be discussing. RabbitMQ. Okay. Now, Spring JDBC, Spring AOP, Spring Transaction. Okay, all these topics will be given as videos to you people. Okay, so both, if you are getting any dialog box, simply say continue. Everyone who is getting dialog box, simply say continue. Are you getting my point there? Yes. Spring JDBC, Spring AOP, Spring Transaction will be taken. I only will be taken, but videos will be given. That's it. And along with that, we'll be studying 4 or 5 mini projects, guys. Okay. And we'll be having 15 plus tools discussions. These are the common topics. These are the common topics. Understanding my point? Yes. Okay. And these are the database softwares we are going to use: Oracle, MySQL, MongoDB. These are the IDs we are going to use: Eclipse. Okay, Eclipse with STS plugin and Visual Studio. Next, these are the tools that we are going to have. Who needs this course? Who needs this course? This course is for everyone, guys. Even fresher is required, 1 plus, 2 plus, 3 plus, 4 plus, 5 plus, anyone required. Expected package, fresher 3 to 6 lakhs. For experienced people, it may be 6 lakhs to what? 13 to 14 lakhs. And this is admin people discussion, admin people's knowledge, guys. Admin people's information. Admin name is Srikanth. It is his contact number. Duration is 120 plus, guys. Timing 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Sometime it may touch 8:40 also. Weekly 6 to 7 classes will be there. This is my email ID, natrazjavaarena@gmail.com. with the same name. Okay, with the same name, FB group is there, Facebook group is there. Okay, class notes and applications will be shared through FB group and Google Classroom. Okay, and classroom application will also be provided through GitHub, guys. Yeah, very soon I will be sharing what GitHub URL to you people. Don't worry. So this is the FB group URL. Since it's a private group, you have to become member of that group in order to see the content, boss. Right. Okay, my email ID. If you have further queries, this is my email ID. Okay, boss. After that, we started understanding what is Spring Boot. Four approaches of developing Spring application is there, guys. Using XML driven configurations, using Arena means place. Arena means place, nothing else. Okay. Now listen, guys. This is not for the batch. This batch is not for those people who don't have Spring basics. Sir, I'm looking for even Spring basics. You people need to wait 1.5 month. After 1.5 month, evening 6 p.m., new batch will be started, where entry one discussions will be started first. That means their Spring basics will be started first. If you don't know Spring Boot, Spring basics, if you don't know what is IOC container, what is setter injection, what is constructor injection, okay, Spring annotations like @component, @auto void, this kind of annotations you don't know, you cannot join in this batch. This batch is for those people who is already having Spring core knowledge, Spring basics knowledge. Is that clear? You cannot even think about taking parallelly also. This batch is for only those students who is already having Spring fundamentals. Clear, guys? Okay. So when that batch will start? After 1.5 month, evening 6 p.m. slot. Using annotation driven configurations, using Java config or an 100% code driven configuration. And one last one is what? Using Spring Boot. So that means Spring Boot is not another module of Spring Boss. Spring Boot is an approach of Spring application development which internally uses Spring. So Spring Boot is a framework, Spring is also framework. But Spring Boot is a framework that is developed on the top of Spring framework. It's an approach of developing Spring application which internally uses Spring and simplifies the application development. So the basic formula of Spring Boot is Spring minus XML configurations plus auto configuration. So this is the basic formula, guys. What is auto configuration? This feature generate common things required in Spring Boot project dynamically. What they are? Classes as Spring Beans. It will generate some classes dynamically as Spring Beans. It will generate some jars, guys. Database connectivity. Next, some servers. It will give embedded servers. It will give in-memory databases. Some plugins it will do. It will take care of some configurations. It will definitely take care of some configurations. Okay, super. Okay, using Java JDBC technologies, if you develop a project, let us assume there are 1,000 lines because everything we should take care. Everything we should take care. If you use Spring Framework to develop the same project, you will get 200 lines of code because Spring Framework provides abstraction on multiple Java JDBC technologies. That's why it also simplifies application development, guys. But we are looking for more simplification, more abstraction, and more easiness to develop the project. Then think about going for Spring Boot. You can wind up the application development using just 80 lines of code. Okay, because of what? Auto configuration. Many things comes automatically, boss. So to understand that one in a better manner, okay, I have given one plain JDBC application, boss. In plain JDBC application, we are writing common logics and also application specific logics, not for one time. If you develop 20 plain JDBC application, in every application we should develop what? Common logics and application specific logics. So lot of boilerplate code problem is there. What is boilerplate code? The code that repeats in multiple parts of the project, either with no changes or with minor changes, is called as what? Boilerplate code. Is called as boilerplate code. Technically, you observe, guys, loading driver class, establishing connection, creating statement object, exception handling, closing JDBC objects remains same in multiple parts of the project, guys. Time to time query changes and query results changes, so that the way we process results also will change. So a lot of boilerplate code is there when you are working with plain technologies. Okay. If I develop the same application by using what? Spring framework. Okay. Then what is the story? Okay. I'm using 100% code driven approach, guys. Okay. Here by using at the rate bean method. What method? By using at the rate bean method, I have configured one data source. And I have injected that data source to a DAO class. Come on, DAO class. And I configured Java class as DAO class using at the rate repository annotation. And I linked this DAO class to configuration class by using at the rate component scan. And this class has become configuration class because of at the rate configuration annotation. So that means here also we are doing some coding, boss. Are you noticing it, guys? So this much hangama you have to do in Spring environment. Super. You go for Spring Boot, guys. You go for Spring Boot. In Spring Boot, they have come up with starters. They have come up with what? Starters? Nothing but jars, guys, but bit advanced jars. More flexible jars, guys. Compared to normal jar, these are quite advanced jars. So add Spring Boot starters to class path, whose name is Spring boot starter JDBC. Okay, these are literally jars in Maven and Gradle terminology, dependencies. Okay, this starter, what it will give? It will give data source. It will give JDBC template. It will give named parameter JDBC template through auto configuration. Based on the jar we have added, starter we have added, lot of auto configuration takes place, boss. Yeah, we don't need these two things, but we just need data source. We just need data source. But one problem is there. Data source will have connectivity with the database software. Okay, when it is giving data source through auto configuration, how does it knows? What is that? How does it knows? It has to establish connection with so and so database software. Those instruction it will collect from properties file, application.properties file, which is fixed. File name is fixed, boss. So the inputs required for auto configuration done based on the starters that are added will be gathered from properties file if needed. If needed, because data source has to represent connection pool has to have connection objects representing connectivity with the database software. So when it is doing this much hangama through auto configuration, how does it knows it has to create connection objects in connection pool pointing to certain database software? Those inputs it will gather from, okay, application.properties. So you have to add the starter, boss, and starter gives things through auto configuration, but inputs required for auto configuration should be placed in what? Properties file. These keys are fixed keys, guys. Values you can change accordingly. So I'm giving JDBC driver detail pointing to Oracle, so that data source thinks that, oh, I have to be ready by establishing connection with what? Database software. Yes, Spring Boot also can be called as a framework, not a problem. Yes, guys. Now same DAO class. Whatever DAO class is there, same DAO class is there. Okay, where we are injecting data source through auto wiring. See, guys, here we are not doing anything related to data source because that is coming through auto configuration because of the starters that we are adding. Okay. New guys, let's get into today's discussion. What is today's date, boss? Can you help me? 24th, 24th, right? 24th. Intro to. Yes, boss. Spring Boot starters are. Spring Boot starters are. Okay. Advanced dependencies. Dependencies. Okay. Nothing but jar files. Advanced dependencies. Okay. Which provides. Okay. Okay. Which provides. Okay. Libraries required for the Spring project, Spring Boot project. Come on, guys. Oh, Spring Boot project, Spring Boot project, and helps Spring Boot to perform auto configuration activities. Auto configuration activities. Okay, boss. Help Spring Boot to perform what activities, guys? Auto configuration activities. Yes. These starters should be added to. Come on. Okay. Should be added to class path either through. What is that? Either through pom.xml. If you are using Maven environment, guys. Okay, pom.xml or through what is next one? Build.gradle. What dot gradle, guys? Build.gradle. Build.gradle. Build.gradle means what? Gradle tool. Okay, guys. Build.gradle. Okay, boss. Starters pattern. Starters pattern in Spring Boot. Starters pattern in Spring Boot, guys. Okay. Spring boot star. This is star, guys. So this star will change time to time. So this is the basic pattern, boss. Okay. Example. Spring boot starter JDBC. Okay. Spring hyphen boot hyphen starter hyphen web for web application. Spring hyphen boot hyphen starter hyphen dev tools. Okay, nearly 1,000+ starters are there, guys. Not one, two. 1,000+ starters are there. Now you can understand how much auto configuration is possible. Spring Boot to starters. Spring Boot to starters, guys. Okay, you just open any website randomly, not a problem. Okay, see, Spring Boot starter, test starter is there. So lot of starters are there here. Okay, Spring Boot starter data JPA is there. Data JPA is there to work with the data JPA environment. Some of them for our testing environment. Some of them are for testing environment. Come on. So and etc. And etc. So 1,000+ starters are there, guys. 1,000+ starters are there. Yes, guys. Now listen, guys. Listen. I'll give more clarity now. Sir, Maven also gives dependencies, and here also starters are there. Exact meaning I want. Exact meaning I want. Okay, right. Now listen, sir. Listen. In Java, in Java, we get APIs as libraries. APIs as libraries in the form of jars, in the form of jar files. I want everyone should understand this one very importantly. In starters are good in what way I will tell. In Java, we get APIs as libraries in the form of jar files. Okay. These jar files will be having dependent jar files. Yeah, these jar files will be having dependent jar files. Okay. If classes of one jar file is using the classes of another jar file, the classes of another jar file, the then another jar file is called dependent. Come on, guys. Okay, dependent jar file to first jar file, first or one jar file. Okay, guys. Array, listen, guys. Spring hyphen context hyphen support hyphen version dot jar is having multiple dependent jar files or not. That means classes of this jar file using classes of other jar files. Multiple dependent jar files. Like what, guys? Spring hyphen core hyphen version dot jar, common hyphen logging dot jar. Remembered? Spring hyphen beans hyphen version dot jar. Yes or no? Na? Version dot jar file. Okay, boss. Now listen, I'm trying to put from the scratch level. In what way starters are different from libraries? Because Maven is also having capability of giving main and dependent jar files. Starters also jar files. But why we are highlighting starters like anything? This is what I'm going to explain. Focus. Okay. If Java application uses any API, Any API or library, boss. If Java application uses any API or library, then that API related main and dependent jar files. Main and dependent jar files must be added to class path. Must be added to class path. This is very important. Suppose I have first dot jar, second dot jar. First dot jar, second dot jar. First dot jar is having class A. Second dot jar is having class B. Class A, class B. Okay. Method of class A is using method of class B, boss. Method of class A is using method of class B. Are you listening my statement, guys? M1 method definition of class A is using, come on, M2 method is calling, 1 minute, is calling M2 method of class B. M2 method of class B. So we can say first dot jar file is what file? Main jar file, and the second dot jar file is dependent jar file. Dependent jar file. Okay, now interesting part is I have application 1.java, class application 1, here public static void main, come on, public static void main, string args. Here what is that? A is equal to new AF. I create object for A class. Now listen, so many people feels they know about main and dependent jar file, but clarity will not be there. Today I want to give clarity about main and dependent jar files and starters. Okay, focus. Now tell me, guys, my application 1 is using only class A. Class A is available in what, guys? First dot jar. So you will be mentally ready. Come on. You will be mentally ready to add only first dot jar, right? Are you listening my statement, guys? You will be mentally ready only to A dot jar and M1. You will be mentally ready to add only A dot jar. I mean to say first dot jar, because we are using class A only. Whoever observe this code, what class we are using? Class A. It belongs to which jar? First dot jar. Add to the class path. But when you call M1 method, inside definition of M1 method, it is trying to call M2 method of class B. So is there any class B in the class path, guys? No. So definitely you will get what exception? No class definition found exception. So to overcome this, what should I add? What should I do? I should add both main and dependent jar files, right? I should add both main and dependent jar files. It's something like this, guys. In your home, function is going on. Function is there. You called your close friend. Array friend, come and attend function. Without you, my function is incomplete. My party is incomplete. Okay, your friend says, I want to come, I would like to come, because it's your party, it's your function. But one problem is there. Same day, my cousin is coming from US to spend time with me. So by keeping him alone at home, I cannot come to your party. Sorry, Ra, I cannot come. Sorry, Ra, I cannot come. So indirectly, you are calling me, I am happy, but I have a dependent. Okay, I have a dependent. By living dependent, I cannot come and participate in your party. So indirectly, what he is saying, guys, you call me and you also invite my cousin. We both together will come and enjoy your party. So do you know Do you know your friend's cousin? No. But still you are forced to invite him to party or not? Yes. Okay. Application one developer using any class of second dot jar? No. Using any class of second dot jar? No. But but he is using what? Class A of first dot jar. But class A is internally using class B. So that's why okay, application one is now forced to add both main and dependent jar files or not. Both main and dependent jar files are not. Okay, one more real life example I will give, which is quite funny example. You will remember this concept forever after this example. Everyone might have gone through this situation in your real life also. Okay, during engineering days, guys, you liked one girl. Okay, you asked her, okay, can we go to restaurant for taking lunch, or can we go to coffee day to take a coffee or tea? Uh, Girl says yes or no, na directly. No. But boy will relax, no. Again and again he will ask. Again and again he will ask. One day she says yes, but with the star symbol. That means conditions apply. I don't come alone with you. You call my friends also. You call my roommates also. Everyone might have experienced it or not. I experienced it during my engineering days, guys. Okay, fine. Uh, so now look at the position of the boy, guys. With how many girls he want to spend? One girl. But how many people came? Seven people. One main girl, six roommates. Six roommates. But somehow he is forced to spend time with what? Both main girl and dependent girl. That thing nothing but okay. Roommates are not. Yes, here position of the programmer and position of the boy one and the same are not. One and the same are not. Sometimes what happens, one more dependent jars will have other dependents. This B class uses third dot jar C class. So then what happens? You have to add second dot jar and third dot jar. Dependents also can have dependents, guys. So here programmer situation, their boy situation, same or not? Okay, now I will tell twist in the story. Between that boy and girl, 1 year friendship completed, they have become lovers. Okay, they have become lovers, let us assume. Okay, boy said to girl, Hare, we completed 1 year, let's celebrate. You please call your roommates, I will give party to them. We will do blast and party to them. What girl says, guys? I am enough for you, don't look here and there. Why my roommates? I am enough for you. Don't look here and there. Come on, guys. But don't expect that frozen in Java, boss. After 1 year or 10 years, you have to add both main and dependent jar files. Because since the relationship is changed, girls' attitude changed, thought process changed. But Java is not like that. After 1 year or 10 years, you have to add both main and dependent jar files to class path. Understand? Because she has become possessive. She has become jealous of other girls' presence. But Java is not like that. You have to add both main and dependent jar file every time. Okay, just remember concept. Don't remember my example. Understanding my point? Right. Okay. And girls don't feel bad. Once in a while, I'll give this kind of example, criticizing boys also. Okay? Don't worry. Fine. This is just a concept. Yes, we should add both first dot jar and second dot jar. Yeah, I generally take boy girl examples a lot so that though you are sleeping, you will get up and listen the example so that you will be in the classroom. Okay, first dot jar and second dot jar file to the class path. Okay, guys. Now listen. It's It's very difficult to know which jar file is main, which jar file is dependent. I cannot do that work manually. It's very, very complex process. It's very complex process. Understanding my point, guys? Okay. Identifying dependent jar files for jar files of any main jar file is very complex in manual process. Yes or no? In manual process. Okay. To simplify this job, okay, guys, to simplify this job, we got Maven Gradle build tools, guys, and etc. build tools, etc. build tools. Yes. While developing Java projects, not only Spring projects, any Java projects, using these tools, if we add main jar file as a dependency, main jar file as a dependency, okay, the tools downloads both main and dependent jar files to class path. That's the beauty of Maven and Gradle, boss. Life becomes simple. Life becomes simple with me. This one. Life becomes simple with what? Okay, Maven and Gradle. That's why they are very successful, boss. Especially in dependency management towards arranging jar file, Maven, Gradle are very successful. Okay, that's why in industry, 50% of projects are happening in Maven, another 50% in Gradle. But bit edge is there for Maven only, but slowly Gradle is picking up. Don't worry, we are going to use both tools. 50% of the course we are going to learn through Maven. Another 50% of the course we are going to learn through what? Gradle. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Okay, guys. Now listen carefully. Yes, listen carefully, guys. Spring Boot starters are not just main and dependent jar files. Are not just main and dependent jar files, guys. Okay, Spring Boot starters are not just main and dependent jar file. It also it they also include relevant jar files. They also include relevant jar files related to certain task completion, related to certain task completion through auto configuration, related to certain completion in through auto configuration. Okay, guys. Now listen. Okay, now listen. These starters can also be added as dependencies to project, to Spring Boot projects, not to every project, only to Spring. Starters concept is there only to Spring Boot projects, guys. Projects using Maven. I think already I have given this point, Gradle, boss. Using Maven and Gradle, boss. Okay, now listen carefully. For example, for example, Okay, guys. Spring hyphen boot hyphen starter hyphen JDBC gives Spring JDBC jars. Spring JDBC jars. Are you listening my statement, guys? Spring JDBC jars means what? Spring JDBC jars. Spring hyphen JDBC hyphen version dot jar. This is the main jar file. And its a dependent jar file is also there. Spring hyphen, okay, Spring hyphen tx hyphen version dot jar. Okay. Yeah, this is the version means Spring version, boss. Don't think much. This is main jar file. This is dependent jar file. This is main jar file. This is dependent jar file. Next, guys. Next one. It also gives Hikari CP jars. Hikari CP. Array for data source. Default data source in Spring Boot application is default data source in Spring Boot application is Hikari CP data source. It's the third party one, but it's the best one. Performance wise, it's doing well. Hikari CP data source. Hikari CP data source, guys. So CP means connection pool. CP means connection pool. Okay. Next, relevant logging jars. It's a data source, database connectivity. Hikari CP is giving data source which is for database connectivity. Relevant logging jars. Relevant logging jars. And etc. Now tell me, guys, it is just giving main and dependent jar file or giving relevant jars? Is just giving main and dependent jar file or giving all relevant jars? Yes, that is the beauty of starters, boss. Group of jars completing certain task. Meven Gradle promise only main and dependent jar file. But starters, Spring Boot starters is not just there giving main and dependent jar file. It also gives relevant jar file to complete relevant work. Are you understanding my point there? Raghavendra, CP is a connection pool. Connection pool is a factory where connection objects will be there. CP is nowhere related to ORM. CP is nowhere related to ORM. Are you getting my point, guys? So it's one technique of creating connection pool. Okay, since the discussion has come, okay, tell me how many types of JDBC connection objects are there? Two types of JDBC connection objects are there. Number one, direct connection. What connection? Direct JDBC connection. What do you mean by direct JDBC connection, guys? Created by the programmer manually. Programmer manually. Okay. How to create it? Class dot for name. Okay. Manoj Gupta in Spring Boot. Okay, boss. Manoj Gupta in Spring Boot, it is default. Hikari CP is default in Spring Boot, not in Spring. Not in Spring. And I have used driver manager data source in Spring. If you observe that one, use some common sense, please. Okay. I have not used it in Spring Boot. I have used that one in Spring application. In Spring, Hikari CP is not default. Only in Spring Boot, Hikari CP is default. Is that clear, Manoj Gupta? Please respond yes or no in the chat box after listening doubt related clarification. Driver manager dot get connection. Driver manager dot get connection. Yes, this connection object is there now, boss. This is called direct connection. This is called direct JDBC connection. Super. Number two, pooled JDBC connection. Pooled JDBC connection. Okay. Collected from JDBC connection pool through data source object. Connection pool through data source object. How you do it? Let us assume DS is connection data source, guys. On that you have to call get connection. Here DS is data source. What is the data source is entry point for connection pool. Anything you want to do on connection pool, you have to do through data source object, boss. That's why it is called entry point to data source. Sorry, entry point to connection pool. What is connection pool? It contains set of readily available JDBC connection objects. Yes, data source object, guys. Here is my JDBC connection pool, guys. Okay, it maintains set of readily available JDBC connection objects. You want to do anything on this connection pool, you have to do through data source object. So that's why entry point to connection pool is what? Data source object. It's something like this. I am representing course pool. I am representing course pool. Faculty representing course pool. Okay, advanced Java course, Spring Boot course, microservice course, design pattern course, Hibernate course, X course, Y course, Z course. As a student, you want to access each course for me, each course. Okay, you can access directly or through faculty you have to access. Each course from course pool cannot be accessed directly. You should be accessed only through faculty. Come on, guys. Similarly, yeah, data source is like faculty, connection pool is like course pool, boss. Connection pool is like course pool. Right, boss. Data source object is entry point to access each JDBC connection object from JDBC connection pool. Each JDBC connection object from JDBC connection pool. Yes, boss. Are you listening my statement, boss? Okay. What is connection pool? JDBC connection pool is a factory. That means if needed, it can create new connection objects that contains set of readily available JDBC connection objects. What's the advantage? Readily available connection objects means what? Whenever we can take it and use it or not. And at a time, multiple people can take multiple connection objects, can use it or not. Creating connection object manually is a complex process, guys. Time consuming process. When connection objects are readily there, people can take it and use it. Come on. Once the task is over, they can return back to connection pool. And these returned connection objects will give service to other people. Lot of reusability for connection objects are not, guys. Lot of connection or reusability for connection objects. Are you listening my statement? Okay, boss. Now listen. Listen. Two types of JDBC connection pools. Since Ikari CP is launched, since some people are asking what is Ikari CP, now I'm discussing all the things, guys. Two types of JDBC connection pools. Standalone JDBC connection pools. Standalone JDBC connection pools. Standalone JDBC connection pools. Are you getting my point? I will take your individual question, personalized questions at the end of the session. I'll spend time for you. Please listen in the current topic. Focus on the current topic. People are asking course fee. People are asking some like personalized questions, durations. If you miss initial introduction, don't worry. I will answer all your questions last 5 to 10 minutes. If needed, I'll spend half an hour to answer each and everyone's question. Everyone now please focus listening the current topic. Standalone JDBC connection pool, guys. Useful in standalone Java applications. Standalone Java applications. Right. What are the examples? Yes, we have a lot of examples, guys. Apache DBCP. All these are standalone connection pool, guys, which we use in standalone Java applications. Apache DBCP. Next, C3P0. I am not scolding anyone. This is the name of this one. Proxul. Hikari CP. And etc. As of now, in standalone JDBC connection pool, Hikari CP is the best. Sir, Spring is also giving some built-in connection pools. They are not industry standard. They are performance. Because of performance, its ability to access connection objects fastly from connection pool, its ability to create more connection objects fastly in the connection pool. Because of performance, it is the best. And you don't believe in Spring Boot, if you don't explicitly specify, I want other connection pool, by default, every Spring Boot project, the moment you add persistence related starters means like Spring-boot-starter JDBC, Spring-boot-starter data JPA. If you add persistence related starters, by default Ikari CP will be activated. By default Ikari CP will come through auto configuration. Are you listening my statement, boss? So the best is given as default in Spring Boot, guys. In Spring, no such default data sources. Everything we should create manually. Spring Boot is having default data sources because in Spring Boot there is an auto configuration concept. Today I'm totally dedicating myself towards what is a starter, boss. I hope you got in what way it is different from Maven supplied main and dependent jar files. From the root level, I brought it. I hope you enjoyed the way I brought importance of the starters. Come on. So next one, server managed JDBC connection pool. What's the next one, guys? Server managed JDBC connection pool, guys. Useful in applications that are deployable in webs that are deployable in web servers application server. You might have heard about Tomcat, WebLogic, Glassfish, Wildfly. What is now industry standard server? Wildfly server. Most of the projects in the industry using what server, guys? Wildfly. After that, Glassfish. After that, Tomcat. Web server or application server. Useful in those applications that are deployable in web server or what? Application server. Okay, guys. Yes, guys. Are you listening my statement, boss? Okay. Example. WebLogic managed JDBC connection pool. Tomcat managed. WebLogic is not used that much nowadays because of heaviness. JDBC connection pool. Next, Wildfly managed JDBC connection pool. We will be learning multiple servers, don't worry. Yeah. Sir, when I say these applications, what are those applications? Applications are, web applications, Ra Babu. And Spring REST applications. Spring REST applications also. RESTful application. Even RESTful applications also web applications. Are you understanding? RESTful web service applications also web applications. RESTful applications, web service applications. Yes, these two applications prefer working with what? Server managed JDBC connection pool. Now I hope everyone has got what is Hikari CP clearly now. Okay. Shall we go back to our starters discussion, boss? Okay. Now listen. Developing developing developing. Okay. Yes, other day I have discussed about developing standalone application using technology, using Spring Boot. Today I will take same thing with in case of what? Web application. Developing Java web application using Chaitanya. In all these data sources, we can use regular Oracle thin driver, MySQL driver, because that is providing connection pool, not the database, not the driver. So we can work with any driver. Everyone, please come back. Okay, JBoss only renamed as Wildfly now. Servlet JSP technology. Servlet JSP technology. Okay, guys. Okay, guys. Now listen. Servlet JSP technologies, plural. Technologies. Number one, should add jars manually to class path. Should add jars manually to class path. What is that? Servlet-api.jar, JDBC driver jars, and etc. Next, should understand and implement. Sir, RESTful web applications also web application, but they are distributed applications. RESTful web applications also web application, but they are distributed application. Both are different. Jayanta, yes, RESTful web service applications are web application, but we should call them as distributed applications. Both are different. That's why I have written. Okay, should understand and implement MVC2 architecture manually. MVC2 architecture manually. Yes. Next one. No ready-made. No ready-made. Come on, guys. No ready-made front controller servlet. No ready-made front controller servlet. We should develop it. We should develop it manually. We should develop it manually. Come on. MVC2 is an architecture to develop the web application, guys. How strategy design pattern is best to develop Spring application. MVC2 is an architecture to develop web application that gives set of rules to develop web application in a best manner. Are you listening? So try to understand what is what. Don't get into details because I want to differentiate developing web application using servlet JSP technology, developing web application using Spring MVC, Spring Framework MVC, and developing same web application using what? Spring Boot MVC. This is main intention. So when I introduce one to technical terminology, try to understand what is what. Don't get into details because when I launch each module separately, we are going to learn all these things. MVC2, what is that? Model View Controller. Nowadays people are studying what is MVC in the core Java itself, na boss? Yes. Okay. MVC is an architecture to develop Java web application as layered application. What application, guys? As layered application. As layered application. Layered application means multiple classes will be there. Connectivity, interaction between those classes will be there. Come on. 3 BHK room is layered room, right? Bachelor room is not a layered room. Everything in a single room, okay, is a bachelor room. 3 BHK, 4 BHK, 2 BHK comes under what? Okay. Yes. As a layered application. As layered application. Fine, boss. Listen, should arrange server externally. Should arrange web server or application server externally or manually. Okay, guys. Next. Okay. No productivity. No productivity because all logics of all layers should be developed by the programmers. Should be developed by the programmers and etc. So bit complexity is there or not there, guys. See, guys, should add jars manually, should understand, implement MVC2 architecture manually, no ready-made front controller servlets, no ready-made front controller servlet, come on. We should develop it manually. Okay. Samuka Dore, I think you don't know JDBC also. Please don't continue in this batch. Wait for the next batch. Everyone, please look at the question. What is JDBC connection object for and why should we have JDBC connection? Please, you are not eligible to continue in this batch because you don't have basics of JDBC. Spring basics also not there. My suggestion is wait for the next batch or first complete advanced Java, then think about Spring. Please, guys, prerequisites are very important while attending advanced topics. Right. Should arrange web server or application server manually. No productivity because many things should be done manually by programmer. Super boss. Okay. Now listen. Developing Java web application using Spring MVC framework. Spring MVC framework. Yeah, what are the benefits we will get, guys? Should add jars, still here also. Should add jars manually to class path. Manually to class path. Should add jars manually to class path. Next, gives built-in servlet. Built-in servlet component. What is the name, guys? Dispatcher servlet as front controller. As front controller. As front controller servlet. Array, adding through pom.xml is also manual only, na boss. Should add jar file class manually to class path means adding through Gradle also manually only, na. Adding to Maven also manually only. What do you say, guys? Okay. That's what meaning. If it is the case, here also I can use Maven, but still I have given point. Gives built-in servlet component as front controller servlet. Next, gives MVC architecture. MVC architecture flow. MVC architecture flow as built-in flow. As built-in flow. Based on dispatcher servlet. So you need not to worry about rules. You need not to worry about flow, guys. So ready-made flow is there. Gives MVC architecture flow as a built-in flow based on dispatcher servlet. After all, dispatcher servlet is a built-in servlet, na boss. This is a ready-made servlet. Okay, guys. Next, should arrange web server or application server manually. Web server or application server manually. Gives good productivity. Gives good productivity compared to servlet, JSP technology. Gives good productivity compared to servlet, JSP technology and etc. Now tell me, working with servlet JSP technology is too bad. Compared to that, working with Spring MVC is quite good. But you cannot work with this one directly, boss. Devash Pandey, Spring MVC will be discussed as part of our course as a Spring Boot MVC. Just try to understand what is what. First problem as it is there. Second one, no ready-made front controller servlet. Yes, we are having ready-made. Okay, you need not to remember rules manually to implement because flow is built-in flow. Third problem as it is there. I mean, say fourth point as here server is required, here server is required. Productivity is totally not there, but here good productivity compared to previous one. Right, boss. Now come to this one. Developing Java web application using Spring Boot MVC framework. Spring Boot MVC framework. Yes, guys. Spring Boot MVC framework. Are you understanding my statement, boss? Right. Okay. Hmm. By adding Spring Boot Starter Web Starter. What guys? Web Starter. We can get both main, dependent, and relevant jar files to class path. Okay, that's the one thing, guys. Next, gives gives built-in front controller servlet. Gives built-in front controller servlet. Nothing but dispatcher servlet, guys. Next, gives MVC flow as a built-in flow. Super. Next, automatic configuration. MVC is an architecture to develop the web applications. It's an industry standard architecture to develop the web application. Today, you don't worry about it. How strategy design pattern is best to develop Spring applications? MVC2 only. MVC2 is also there. Rajesh, you are not active, boss. Please be active. Right. Now listen. Automatic configuration of dispatcher servlet. Okay. Now the people who is having knowledge of servlet, please respond. Every server, listen. Every servlet should be configured in web.xml or not. But in here, it is automatic configuration, boss. You need not to configure dispatcher servlet manually. Automatic configuration of dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet is one ready-made servlet. Please, today don't understand technicality. See how it is differing. Automatic configuration of dispatcher servlet and other components. Okay. Dispatcher servlet is one predefined servlet, guys. Next, embedded servers. Embedded servers. You will get Tomcat or Jetty server as embedded server. You need not to arrange servers manually. Servers manually. Embedded servers, guys. Along with our application only server will come. Embedded servers and gives good productivity. Gives great productivity. Now you observe manual development, everything we have to take care. MVC, Spring based MVC framework, 50-50%. Spring Boot, 80-20%. 80% it is taking care. Come on. 80% it is taking care. And 20% we are developing. Are you getting my point there? They have given Tomcat Jetty as embedded servers. If you want any other server, you have to configure manually. As of now, they are giving Tomcat and Jetty servers as embedded servers. Remaining servers, you have to configure manually. Right now, you don't worry about what is web application, what is MVC architecture. See the difference. In technology, everything manual. In Spring Framework, 50-50. Everyone, please switch off your cameras. 50%, 50-50 kind of thing. 50% you develop, 50% framework will take care. Here is what? 80-20. 80% of Spring Boot will take care, 20% you take care. This is what you have to observe. Don't worry about this technicality. Especially if you don't know servlet JSP, especially if you don't know anything about servers, leave it. But what you have to observe is website development using technology, okay, is complex. Okay, using Spring, bit complex. Using Spring Boot, dead easy. Using Spring Boot, dead easy. Are you understanding my statement? Okay. This is what you have to observe. This is what you have to observe. So don't worry about the technicalities here. I hope you enjoyed today's session. You understood completely what is starter, what is connection pool, and how easy it is to develop web application using Spring Boot, guys. Right. So this is another introductory session of what? Spring Boot. So tomorrow when we meet, we will discuss more technical things related to Spring Boot. Okay. Dharmendra Kumar, we can have multiple connection pool pointing to multiple database softwares. You can take multiple connection pools. Okay, guys. Spring Boot is internally heavy and makes programmer life easy. Makes programmer life easy. Right. Okay, MVC to MVC, as of now, you can feel same. As of now, you can feel same. Yes, now I will take some questions, guys. How Spring Boot automatically configures Spring Dispatcher Servlet? Okay, by using some dynamic servlet registration concept, it will use, boss. Dynamic servlet registration concept it will use. That's a purely technical. You can understand only when I launch that module. Or if you know servlet concept, recollect, we can configure servlet by using web.xml, by using annotation, and one more technique is there, dynamic registration of servlet. Servlet context.add servlet. I don't know whether you are aware of that one or not. So it will use servlet context.add servlet technique internally. It is this. Nikhil Burgu, in this course, now from yesterday you joined. You joined today or other day means you joined from entry 2. Entry 2 means the course deals with Spring Boot and microservices. Prerequisite is Spring Basics. No, sir, I am looking for Spring Basics. You have to wait for totally fresh batch that starts with the Spring Basics. After 1 month, evening 6 p.m. Sudhir, is it possible to change default Ikari CP to other? Yes, you can change it. Default means you can change it. What are the disadvantages of Spring Boot? That I will take up at the end of this Spring Boot, guys. We have not discussed it. Devash Pandey, I have discussed as a common topic, just to check once. Bharata, don't worry, talk to admin. Admin will support your. Sushmita, in Spring Boot, can we use server managed connection pool? Yes, we can use, but that time you should not use the embedded servers. You should use external servers. Basic of Spring MVC framework to learn. I didn't understand your question, Mr. Matram. Please repeat your question. Devash Pandey, adding resource tag in web.xml is old technique. Okay, Dharmendra Kumar, Web application takes request from browser. Distributed application takes request from another Java application. Okay, for example, nareshit.com website, flipkart.com website, GPay, Google Pay, Phone Pay. These are the distributed application. So Google Pay, Phone Pay won't take request directly from browser. They take request from another shopping websites like flipkart.com, Amazon. So website will have browser as the client. Okay, distributed applications will have other Java applications as client. Subham, Jenkins and Dockers are part of our course. Okay, Ashutosh, Swing is outdated, guys. Only 10% utilization is there. Why? Because Java is not known for standalone applications. Funny, everyday notes will be uploaded. Okay, PDF documents will be there, and classroom applications will be shared. Set of APIs together we call as a library. Vishwanath, set of libraries together, set of APIs together, we can call it as library. We have to learn basics of Spring MVC framework before learning Spring Boot. Not required. Not required. I'm just compare. Okay, but based on this conclusion, don't think that you should have a Spring MVC knowledge. I'm just trying to compare. If I develop the website using servlet JSP, how does it looks? If I develop same website using Spring MVC, how does it looks? In Spring Boot, how does it looks? You need not to have Spring MVC knowledge in order to attend this course. Sumit, if you are having Spring Boot and microservice in your resume, you can get 6 to 10 lakhs package. Real time, how we configure server? Suppose we are using Spring Boot project, we are using microservice, how the flow will be. Realme 7i, that's quite technical. I cannot speak like this. In coming classes, practicals I will show. Difference between controller and IOC container. Front controller is there to handle the request. IOC container is there to manage Spring Bean objects. Both are different. Front controller is related to web. IOC container is related to both applications. Okay, guys. Bharatwas, so we have to join by the end of demo class right after 27th. Not required. Happily you can continue. Initial classes are demo classes, boss. Initial classes are demo classes. No separate demo classes. Please, demo classes separate, regular classes separate will not be there. I started course. Okay, you have to think initial classes as demo classes. Yes, Devansh, yes. Instead of driver manager data source, we can use Icarus CP also. Next, Saurabh Ashu. How much package we will get after this course to 6 lakhs to 10 lakhs? When will the entry 3 start if I want to join only for MS? After 70 sessions, after 2 months, you please come for entry 3. Can we add custom jars dependency to Spring Boot? Yes. After starters, if still not sufficient, you can add other dependencies. Santosh, JDBC, Servlet, Spring, Hibernate. Now I am taking Spring Boot microservice currently, working for Infosys as senior software engineer. Congrats, Santosh. All the best. Okay, he is my old student. Now he came for Spring Boot and microservices. Okay, next. How to include payment gateway in our project? I means using which technology? We have ready-made web services and we can consume them. Payment gateways are ready-made web services. Okay, we should know how to consume web service. So indirectly web service you have to use. Is there any tentative plan? I don't give any batch completion days. 120 sessions you count. Basic knowledge to learn Spring Boot and microservice. Spring basics. You should know what is set injection, what is constructor injection, what is IOC container. Okay, Rakesh CSC. You should know what is Spring annotations like @ component kind of thing. When this batch started? This batch started last Friday. Friday first session. Today second session. Can I get video to see later if I miss the class? Only initial classes videos will be provided. Remaining all classes you have to attend live. When will Spring Boot class after demo class? Right now Spring Boot is started and it's a continuation. No demo classes separately. Initial classes will be treated as demo classes. Every day subject will continue. Okay. I don't think why people are thinking demo classes separately, regular classes separately. What I will do in the demo classes if I have to start Spring Boot separately? No, initial classes you are feeling as a demo classes. For me, every day is a course day. Sabas, if you learn everything related to full stack development, you can expect 10 to 15 lakhs package. In Spring Basics, we have not used server for web application. In Spring Boot, we will develop. Sindhu, we have not developed any web applications in core mod in Spring Basics. That's why no server is used. Today, Hibernate demo link or new link. I think demo link only. Cyclone is there yesterday. Talk to admin. Admin will take care. How many classes has demo classes? Maybe another 1-2 classes. In connection pool, by default, multiple connection objects will be created by data source. Like connection for my connection. Sir, all connection objects in connection pool represent connectivity with the same database software. That's why we take multiple connection pool for multiple database softwares. How Spring application will work, sir? Ram, after developing first application, I will give flow of execution. Or you have to attend Spring Basics to know how Spring application works. Yeah, JWT will be discussed, no doubt in that. Spring Boot plus Angular course. When will be Angular course starts? What will be the topic covered under Angular? Complete Angular course will be discussed, boss. Okay, complete Angular course will be discussed by separate faculty, Sudhakar Sharma. In-depth discussion, it's a complete course, not awareness course. Integration, I will take care. Integration, I will take care. Dolly, Spring Boot 70 session, but some miscellaneous topics are there. Integrations also there. Okay. I will teach integration, but Angular course is separately taken by Sudhakar Sharma sir, who is our UI faculty. Docker is containerization, boss. Packing all the environment of the project into one file and moving that one to different systems. Spring Security, Spring Social are covered or not? Yes, covered. I already written at the beginning. Already have written at the beginning, boss. They are part of our course. Thank you.